become out of the shadows and come overground is really, really exciting for folks to see it happening. So I just wanted to, on behalf of the National Harm Reduction Coalition, just say thank you for the work, and I'm so honored to be asked to speak at this celebration. In terms of why, I would say because it's right. When I was a baby harm reductionist in the mid-90s, when I started in the UK, that's how long I've been a community development worker for 30 years, and this year I'm celebrating my 50th, and I am celebrating all year. And what a year for me to be celebrating 30 years of this work and being 50, right? To see this happening, right? And when people asked me in 2000 and, now let me think, no, 19, oh my God. My son used to be in the childcare room next to the syringe exchange. He actually volunteered at Washington Heights Corner Project as part of his high school volunteer thing. If anybody remembers Sonny, the big tall kid with locks down to his butt, that was my kid, right? But I tease him and say, you learned harm reduction as osmosis through the wall, because he was in the childcare room next door. But in the mid-90s, when people came to me and said, why are you doing this? I didn't have the vocabulary to articulate like I do today why it was the right thing to do, but in my gut, it felt right. So why are we here today? Because this is damn right. This is so right what you're doing, and don't let anybody tell you that it's wrong. And we know that there's plenty of people out there trying to tell us this, and it isn't. It's the right thing to do. So I'm going to leave you with that. So thank you. Thank you for asking me to speak.
Thank you, Emma. Buenas tardes. Good evening. My name is Oriana. Mi nombre es Oriana. And I am here as a new community member, even though I'm a native New Yorker, I'm new to the community. And I'm also here on behalf of Faith and Harm Reduction. And I'd like to invite us into a moment to acknowledge the land that we're on and the land on which we stand. We are gathered on unceded Munsee, Lenape, Shinnetok, and Wappinger people's land. And so I want to invite y'all to just please join me in acknowledging these communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. So we acknowledge that the land that we are gathered on was founded upon exclusions and erasures and violence of many indigenous peoples, including the land on which we are standing, and our collective acknowledgement, a commitment to continuing the work to dismantle the ongoing legacy of colonialism and white supremacy. We also want to begin by acknowledging the people, the ancestors, the beloved who have guided our movement to this point, and to acknowledge the many who are with us in spirit today, but no longer with body in their bodies. Please feel free to join us in whatever way and in whatever name for love and justice that resonates for you.
Thanks. Sacred source, the one of no names and all names, we listen for your voice. That voice which called us together here this evening in this place, made holy by our presence. That voice which calls us to remember the myriad ways we belong, one to another inextricably and lovingly bound. That voice which calls us to our sacred charge, to presence, to hope, to persistence for liberation. And just as we have been called together here today, we act as the voice, the heart, the hands of another call. The call to meet and walk with our beloved exactly where and as they are, as we are. To celebrate the gift of second, third, and more chances for life-giving. To revel in recovery and resilience shaped by radical love, no matter our path. Call us back to this covenant, to this work of love and justice, to this way of life, to harm reduction. For this, we are here tonight. We gather to celebrate a way forward together, ours a movement of truth-telling, life-affirming, of connection. We gather to honor and learn from the many ways and wisdom with which people who use drugs have been saving one another, loving one another back to life. We also gather to remember the lives of our beloved lost. Following a moment of silence, please join me in keeping alive the spirit of the beloved we have lost to overdose, to the war on people who use drugs, calling them each by name.
We love you. Nosotros te amamos. We are witnesses to your life and the knowing that it was divine. Your name, your memory, they are our way forward. A way that ignites again and again your living and our love for you. In all the holy names, Amen and Ashe. I'd like to welcome, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, the Sanakori musical meditation.
I want to introduce the beautiful Kyra. It's an honor to having her. She's going to join us for our next song. Thank you.
Hay una luz divina que une a todo. Hay una luz divina que une a todo. Yo cierro mis ojos y vuelvo a la luz. Que yo cierro mis ojos y vuelvo a la luz. El sol nace todos los días por siglo y siglo. El sol nace todos los días por siglo y siglo. La luna se esconde y vuelve y renace. Que la luna se esconde y vuelve y renace. Oye, no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe, porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. Oye, no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. Oye, no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. La luna se esconde y vuelve y renace. Ay, la luna se esconde y vuelve y renace. Un día está llena, después otra nueva. Y un día está nueva y otro llena, porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. Oye, no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe, porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe, porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. There is a divine light uniting us all. There is a divine light uniting us all. I close my eyes and turn to the light. Yes, I open my eyes and turn to the light. The sun rises every day for many centuries. The sun rises every day for many centuries. The moon may hide sometimes, tomorrow shining bright. The moon may hide sometimes, tomorrow shining bright. Oh, there is no darkness that's greater than my faith. There is no darkness that's greater than my faith. There exists no darkness that's greater than my faith. There exists no darkness that's greater than my faith. The moon may hide sometimes, tomorrow shining bright. The moon may hide sometimes, tomorrow shining bright. One day she's full, tomorrow no. One day she's new, the next she's full. There exists no darkness that's greater than our faith. There exists no darkness that's greater than our faith. There exists no darkness that's greater than our faith. There exists no darkness that's greater than our faith. 'Cause there's a divine light uniting us all. Yes, there is a divine light uniting us all. we close our eyes and turn to the light. Then we open our eyes and turn to the light. Porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que mi fe. Porque no hay oscuridad más grande que la fe. Porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que la fe. Porque no hay oscuridad más fuerte que la fe.
The following song is a healing song from the medicine people of Borinquen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Hiawatha Collins. I am the founder, co-director of the Peer Network of New York. I work for the National Harm Reduction Coalition. Oh, there it is. I work for the National Harm Reduction Coalition as the Community and Capacity Building Manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. Evening. My name is Terrell Jones. I am the Community Engagement Manager at On Point, New York. I am the co-director of the Peer Network of New York. I'm also a consultant for faith and harm reduction. I'm also a senior vocal leader.
And I am the vocal board chair. And I chair other things. We wear many other hats, all of us, and all of us in here do much work. One thing that I want to say is A lot of times in this movement, we hear that the peers, the users, the community members are the backbone of this work. There has been organizations or coalitions formed various throughout this time, Overdose NYC, to name one, and then many other ones, who have been talking about OPCs for a long time. Vocal has been a part of this conversation for a long time, along with DPA and coalitions that they have formed and having these conversations. There were things that were done around New York State where they took a mock OPC around the state to educate people on OPCs. Peers were involved in everything that I'm talking about. Peers from the Peer Network of New York and just peers who were working around New York State. One thing I want people to know is let us no longer wait until people are dead to celebrate them.
We are here to celebrate the leadership of people who use drugs and the legacy of love which got us to this OPC moment. Hiawatha spoke about peers, backbone, people who did this work. Well, how many of them are no longer here with us today? Let's talk about Elizabeth Owens, the Bobby Talberts, the Elizabeth Rodriguez, Byron Eden, and so many more that made this work possible. And I don't think people understood what we went through to get this. Those many days and nights on the road up to Albany, to Washington, begging our elected officials this is something that we need to save our community. And sit there and hear elected officials tell us, no, not in our backyard, or I can't do that, because of the simple fact I can't let my constituents know I like drugs, people who use drugs. How many times we walked away crying, going through so many emotional changes because people were still dying. To come back home and go in front of the governor's office and beg him to sign that feasibility study so we could get things going and help people turn their lives around. Come talk to the mothers and the fathers who have lost loved ones to an unintentional overdose, and was refused. We looked at those mothers and fathers and they come to us and ask, what happened? Why did this happen? I said, because people don't care. People don't have no respect for people who use drugs. But today, all that has changed. None of you are dying in vain. Your work is now being seen. The hard work, the tears, the blood that you sweat is now being shown in the work that's being done right now.
Some of the work included the peers being part of, along with NIAM, a feasibility study that went to the governors, the health departments, and it sat on their desk for some time, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're here about. We're here to celebrate the individuals who began this work and continued this work. Those individuals that have passed on, and some of us, and many of us that are still here today. Some people, that individuals that have moved away. So one of those individuals I'm gonna call up today from the Peer Network of New York is Mr. William Robertson.
Greetings, everybody. Once again, my name is Will Robertson, peer for Vocal New York, community leader for Vocal New York, peer leader for Peer Network New York, and a lot of many other hats. First of all, I want to thank everybody for honoring me in this celebration, for me to be a part of the celebration. Basically, what I want to talk about, basically pity pack on what everybody said, Tyrell and Hiawatha said, because I want to lift up the true warriors. When I say the true warriors that we were talking about before about the peers, these peers got up 3:30 in the morning to catch a bus to Albany at 6 o'clock, sometimes at 5 o'clock, okay? During rain, sleet, snow, people travel as far as Staten Island to be there, just to go up there to talk to these elected officials. When we went to talk to elected officials, we did a little protesting. We did a lot of civil disobedience when a couple of us got arrested. Well, a couple of them, I wasn't the one. But the main thing was we went to educate, because a lot of these elected officials didn't know what safe consumption site, that's what we were calling that before it became OPCs, what they were about. As Terrell talked before, they had a tour to go throughout the state of New York. Okay, upon educating some of these officials, they understood our path, what we really want. I remember one particular story. There was an elected official from Queens that we sat down, and he said he didn't know what harm reduction was. He invited us to his conference room to learn a little bit more about harm reduction. A month later, the Prayer Network was given a Narcan training at a church in Queens. So we invited that particular individual. That elected official came there with us and changed his mind. Even though his constituents weren't down with the harm reduction, but he was, and he put his name, signed on to it, because it might not be happening in my neighborhood, but it's happening in a neighborhood. So like I said, my main thing is I just want to give the props to the true warriors. I'm talking about the warriors who blocked Broadway for hours. I want to talk about the true warriors that actually laid in the street. I want to talk about the true warriors that are not here today to celebrate with us, but we got it done. My main thing, to see this finally come into fruition, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Behind the work, lots of times people think that OPCs disappeared. Those 10 years worth of work to get to where we are today. And that counts for a lot of us peers. So props to the true warriors who just out there. Thank you.
Right. So people who have used drugs have been long saving us and one another. And now we have one more tool to work with. With that being said, can I please have Vocal New York come up? That would be Jasmine and Robert Suarez. Clara. Asia's not here.
She's right here.
Oh my God, Asia made it. Excuse me, sorry. Last I heard, she did not make it, but she showed up.
To the world, buddy.
So let's start it off.
Oh, y'all put me on the spot. What could we say, man? It took so many years, so many tears, so many getting up at 3 in the morning and having to deal with the crap up in Albany to make this happen. And we're so happy. And you know, I think of my twin brother. He said, this will never happen in your lifetime. Guess what? This was the feather in our cap. But we need you to know that we got a long way to go. And you know what? We got to decriminalize drugs. Let's take that stigma away. You know what I tell people? Listen, you look down on people who do drugs, guess what? So do you. Okay, when you take them aspirins, when you take your medication to help you, how about us? We're human just like you. And lives matter. And we said, leave no man behind. And that's why we gotta push to get this all over the globe. Let's not just talk about it, like my friend says, be about it.
That's right.
I'm gonna pass it to you, Louis.
Okay. Hi, my name is Louis Jones. I'm along with Jason Farrell, co-founder of Vocal New York. And I'm grateful that in my lifetime, didn't think I was gonna make 65 to see this, but I'm grateful I've survived, and I definitely want to remember all those that we've loved and all those that we've lost due to HIV, AIDS, and unattended overdoses. You know, and like it was said, that we should celebrate, you know, before, you know, we lose our members, our peers. You know, we say nothing about us without us. You know, nothing about us without us. All right, and I'm glad that we're continuing on, that I can continue on. And I thank you all, the reverends, you know, and their support. You know, it's a community, you know, so none of us never felt alone. During those years we were out there, never felt alone. There's always a sense of family and community, and a place that we belong to, you know, that we can feel a part of when others were like kicking us in which way, you know. So I'm just grateful that I'm here, you know, and that we're all here. And keep on keeping on. Here, Robert.
Good evening. Good evening.
Robert!
Good evening. My name is Robert Suarez. For those of you who don't know me, just really quickly, this has been my neighborhood. I moved in this neighborhood in 1967, right on 139th Street in St. Nicholas. That's how long I've been here. And I've seen this neighborhood flip and change and go through a lot over the years. I don't think I've ever seen it the way it is now. It's not the way it was. Let me put it to you that way. It's not the way it was. So we are still losing people, right? We are flanked by two rivers. We have the Hudson and we have the East. And on each side we have parks. On each riverbank we have parks. And on each of those parks, we have people who are living in those parks who are dying in those parks. Right now, right here, right today, right now. On the way up here, walking past my building, I noticed on the street just a bunch of syringes. And at night I see people who are still outside using. I gotta tell you, I've had the pleasure of traveling around the world in many places. I wouldn't be standing here right now if it weren't for certain individuals who were up here with me. I'd probably be dead or still out there. So I give thanks and praise to individuals like Terrell Jones and Hiawatha Collins, who brought me in when I was a young whippersnapper. And I give thanks to individuals like Mr. Clear, Alan Clear, who set my foot on the path of doing a lot of international work. I'll never forget, I was in Kuala Lumpur, and we were talking about harm reduction. And this little old man, he said, "You Americans always talk about harm reduction this and harm reduction that." Well, I looked at him, I said, "Well, what do you call it here?" He said, "We call it health." Real simple, health. And when I thought about that, I said to myself, you know, the United States, we are a third world country when it comes to our public health policies. A third world, imagine, the United States, we are a third world country when it comes to our public health policies. We are letting people continue to die. And our political will is nil. our politicians and legislators do not have the political will to make change that is nothing but right. All over the world they're doing it, except for here. I wonder why. I wonder why. When I think about it, I have to think about the 8 presidents. I have to think about the more than 5 decades, the more than $1.6 trillion spent on the longest running war in US history, and that leads me to understand why things won't change, because that means that a whole lot of other things have to change. A whole lot of other things have to be taken away. And when that happens, well, so I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that you people are here. We need more OPCs throughout, not just New York, but throughout the United States. So we need to continue this fight. We need to continue the longest running war in US history. And I'm ashamed to say it, but we need to continue it. My name is Robert, thank you.
Hello, my name is Clara, and I'm just gonna make this short and sweet. Exactly 10 years ago, I walked in a syringe exchange thinking that I was gonna hide from the people I knew, that I was gonna hide from my drug use that I had just started again. But I ended up being a peer because I knew everybody, because I was from the community, and there I met Robert Suarez, which was the advocacy liaison at that time. And Elizabeth Owens, may she rest in peace, would go to Corner Project almost about twice a month and talk to participants, talk to peers, and invite them to the vocal membership meetings. I started going to them meetings very regularly, and started going on them trips, on them long bus trips. And what made me feel that I had a mission, that I was somebody, that I belonged to something, that I belonged where I was when Elizabeth Owens gave me a pack of cards, of business cards that said, Clara Cardell, community leader, Vocal New York. And I continued going on them trips for OPCs, as we call them now, for the overdoses, for decriminalization, for everything. I was on that bus. I was going on that bus. All I want to say is that I am proud to say today, 10 years later, I work in one of the first OPCs in the United States.
Just really quickly, obviously the work that the Users Union has done, I was reflecting today around how I cut my teeth on harm reduction and the mentor I had, Dan Bigg in Chicago, and how we used to theorize about how to bring safer consumption spaces, is what we called them back then, to Chicago, coming to New York, being in a tiny car with Father Barrios on the way to Albany when I thought I had a flat tire. It's the work of people in this room that has brought us to this moment, and the people that we're honoring tonight. And I just want us to all hold that, like, the movement is stronger when we're together. And we've got a lot of work to do. We've all said it. But the being in community and being able to move forward is, New York has always been a beacon of harm reduction, and we have more work to do, and we have more fight in us. So I just want to say thank you to everybody here. Thank you, Peer Network of New York, for this beautiful moment. The world's heavy right now, and I think where I'm finding grace and hope is really leaning into the harm reduction roots that have been taught to me by the elders, many in this room and many who aren't. So just wanted to say, let's get OPCs statewide.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Marilyn Reyes. Marilyn Reyes. Reyes. That's the Puerto Rican. That's right. I am co-director of the Peer Network of New York. I am a Vocal New York board member and many, many other hats. This is, everyone has said, I have all fought so hard for years. And the fight isn't over. We must continue to fight. Yes, we did work. We have 2 OPCs in New York City, but we need them all over the state. I live in the Bronx. The Bronx, my people are dying. I am tired of my people dying. So we must continue in this fight and fight even harder than what we have fought the last 10 years. Don't forget that. Let's continue to fight. We have to continue saving lives. Y'all ready? Let's do this. No more. No more. No more drug war. No more drug war. No more drug war. Not one more. Not one more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vocal. Think about everything that Vocal just said and all these dedicated warriors and everything that they have done and been doing and everybody with them and some people in this room who have been going up and doing this work for so long. Something was said, many things were said here today, but what's most important is that this is not over, not by a long shot. And we all must come together to continue this fight. But there's other fights out there that we need people to be aware of that's soon coming. One of them, legalization. The other one, safe consumption, safe supply. People, when we talk about overdose, ladies and gentlemen, are we really talking about overdose, or are we talking about a supply that is mixed up with so many contaminants? These are the future fights. So not only this fight, but let's prepare for the fights that still to come and push those issues. Because New York have been the innovators, and now it seems like our leaders don't have the political will to step out and do what needs to be done. We need to make sure that we start advocating, supporting groups and people that are advocating to do these things, so that way we can create change for our communities. Because at the end of the day, it's about saving and changing lives, period. It shouldn't even be a political issue, but unfortunately it is, and we have to create change, because at the end of the day, every life matters. Saving, changing one life matters.
I'm grateful today. Not totally grateful, but grateful. Because I work with one of the greatest teams on earth right now. On Point, New York, can you please come up here, please? 6 months ago, I got a call. I was home like at 8 o'clock at night, and Sam Rivera, our executive director, called me and said, I need you to come to the office tomorrow morning. I need to speak to you. I'm scared to death now. He said, no, don't be scared. It's good news. When I got to work that morning, he called me and said, yo, listen, y'all did it. He said, we are going to be the first overdose prevention center in New York City in the United States. And this is part of the lovely team that I work with right here.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry. Thank you, Terrell, for the introduction. And I just want to start off by thanking Reverend Erica for having us. And also thank you to Vocal, Peer Network, Harm Reduction Coalition, all the organizations and the groups and the individuals that came before us and laid the groundwork for this to happen. Like, we are the first two OPCs in the US, but this work wouldn't have happened without you guys. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. So, you know, it's hard to follow up on Vocal and go, you know, with that emotion and passion, but quick introduction about myself. My name is Jason. I'm the Director of Community Initiatives and Impact at On Point NYC. I run several programs at On Point, specifically our outreach and public safety program, which consists of 3 teams of harm reduction specialists that are out in the community, being ambassadors to harm reduction, being ambassadors to On Point NYC, distributing Narcan, collecting syringes. In addition to that, our COVID work, all of our external COVID work. We're doing pop-up vaccine clinics, which we are extending to all of our partners and the community as well. And of course, our public safety hotline, which is a tool that we developed to combat syringe litter and public use. So it's a number that you can call when you see syringe litter or people using in public. We have a coordinator that will answer the call and dispatch the appropriate team to the site to engage that individual, refer them to services, divert that instance of public use and or clean up the syringe litter. And some instances also intervening in overdoses as well. That was a brief introduction of myself, and I will let my co-directors that are here with me introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Feliciano. I'm the Director of Clinical and Holistic Health at On Point NYC. Oh, and this is Maya Feliciano. She's my Assistant Director of... First off, I want to say that this is a victory for all of us in the room. All of us. So congratulations and thank you to each of you. I may have been the person who opened up the first, or set up the first booth, right? I made sure of it. I did it in tears because it's been a long journey for us, but we couldn't do it without everyone in this room. Highly appreciative of all of the advocacy work that we've done, the voices, the conversations with people in the community of just tipping them over, like when you say tipping, and when you see somebody with that little thought of like harm reduction, what is that? Does that work? Is it effective? And we sit and we have those conversations with folks. And we were able to do this because of that work. It took a lot of conversations with community members and leaders, and we're finally here. And we're looking forward to continue to opening more across the city. And I just want to remind you, it's appropriate that we're in a church, that it is easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission.
So Gene asked that I introduce him because he's a little shy. This is our Director of Fleets and Facilities, Gene Booker. So Gene has done a lot of great work with getting the OPCs built out and up and running. It's been a great and memorable time actually doing this. Like, we were in East Harlem at the Nairi location and you know, putting together tables and chairs and you know, physically building out the OPC was an amazing experience. And to just see how impactful it is, how many people like put in work, blood, sweat, and tears, like Terrell said. Yep, absolutely. So, and speaking of impact, we will talk about these numbers. Let me just get these. So we opened on November 30th, 2021. At that time, the city anticipated when we first started these conversations that we'd have about 130 overdose interventions, 4 locations. We have 2 locations. And through July 17th, we've intervened in 379 overdoses. speaking of impact, EMS has been only called a handful of times. In most cases, it's been due to an underlying condition, seizures, etc. So speaking of impact, think about the lift of the burden that is happening on our emergency response systems, on NYPD, on the school grounds, and in our parks. We've had 1,471 unique users. That's 1,471 people have registered to use our OPCs in East Harlem and Washington Heights. We've had a total of over 27,000 utilizations. And we've diverted over 500,000 units of hazardous waste. I hosted 2 care fairs, one in June and one in July. And at both of them, we had a tree of hazardous waste. It was about 15 buckets of hazardous waste. And that was the equivalent, just for a visual representation, the equivalent of 1 week's worth of syringe litter and hazardous waste that was collected either from our parks and our playgrounds and our school grounds and the OPCs. I wish I could have brought that here today, but I just, close to 1 million units of hazardous waste is insanely impactful. And for the detractors and the people who don't believe in this work, I just want them to visualize what this would look like without us here, without all of us, without all of this work that we've done. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, On Point. Just want to quickly give honorable mention to a young lady who couldn't make it. Close friend, Michelle Clavo. She works at the New York Academy of Medicine, which played a very instrumental part in getting the OPCs open with the feasibility study and the tour and the focus groups that were put together. You also want to acknowledge another gentleman from Vocal, New York, Fred Wright. He couldn't make it because of, Fred is going through some medical changes right now, you know what I'm saying? And he wished us the luck, but Fred was very instrumental in this work here. My next speaker, come on up here, Mr. Grady. Do your thing, baby.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael McCrae. I am the Acting Executive Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene here in the city. Very happy to be here. When Erica asked me to come, I said, I told myself I have to take the opportunity, because how often do you get to be in a place where you have such a large contingent of individuals who are so supportive of the work that we're doing? I think that Jason only missed one number that I can think of, and that's 0 deaths. And I think that is the end all and be all there. I think we are about saving lives. I mean, I've heard that several times up here, and I think that's consistent with our thoughts and thinking around harm reduction and the overdose prevention centers. Just for a little bit of a background, I mean, many of us know that the HIV and AIDS epidemic was really kind of a catalyst in really getting up SSPs. To really help people, not die as a result of having used dirty syringes. It was authorized first in '92, and in 2016, only 2% of the HIV cases, so people who use drugs only accounted for 2% of the overall deaths or new cases for HIV. So we saw such a drastic reduction. So that really paved the way for us to really think about how we can use OPCs in other ways to, in a harm reduction way. Like OPCs, SSPs at the time, they were, public health interventions with very demonstrated effectiveness, a lot of strong support from advocates and researchers as well. So these are facilities that really provide services in a non-judgmental way, meeting people where they are, empowering people to make healthier choices. As someone, my father was here in New York, was a drug user back in the day. He ended up dying from AIDS. And I always think to myself, How about if he had had a place to go where he can get a clean needle? He may still be here today. So I have a very personal connection to this work as well. Zero deaths, again, that's like, zero deaths. So the feasibility study has been talked about a little bit here. 2018, we have 4 prevention centers, saving 130 lives, and many, many more kind of ancillary costs. We far surpassed that, with just 2 centers. And I think this really underlines, I can get into a lot of conversation around like our declaration of racism as a public health crisis. And I think that we may know that, and we know that the areas where there's high drug use, those are places that have had problems for many, many years. Result of redlining, displacement, years of economic, disinvestment. And so really we're here to really combat that. And doing it in a very thoughtful, holistic way. OPCs is one of many, many strategies that we in the city are using to really, address harm reduction. We have public health vending machines that are coming out, shortly. That'll provide people with clean needles, sanitary, packs, hygiene kits, condoms. Things to really that are harm reductionists, right? People don't recognize condom. That's harm reduction, right? So we also have a call to action. Last year we called on the Board of Health. As part of the Board of Health, we called on the feds and on the state to really endorse, support OPCs, and we're hoping that call to action has been heard. I think, the tremendous success of the OPCs in such a short period of time really demonstrates its effectiveness. 30 years of research, 100 different sites all over the world, again, 0 deaths. And someone mentioned earlier, in parks, people are dying all the time. Are dying all the time. We know that from the numbers, that there are 3 people, or 1 person is dying every 3 hours of a drug overdose here in the city. In 2020, it was our highest year on record for drug overdoses in the city. That was 2,086 deaths in the city alone in 2020. In 2021, we haven't even finished counting the data yet, and we're well above that. That's really scary. So we know these OPCs are proven. These are, how many did he say? Over 400 interventions. That's 400 lives saved, potentially, right? I've had the opportunity to go to the OPC centers. They're always, open for, I'm offering you guys, always open for visits. And I had the experience of being able to experience or see kind of this in action. The care that the staff works with, everyone, treating them like humans, it's really, I'm beyond words. We know that, the Bronx has the highest rates of overdose in the entire city, followed by East Harlem, places uptown, Brooklyn. It's a problem across the entire city. We want to see this as a citywide strategy and not one that's about backyards or anything, not my yard or anything. We want to see it somewhere that goes around the whole city, because there's someone dying in sectors of the city pretty frequently, even in the areas where there's quote unquote lower rates of overdoses. So our job here in public health is to save lives, make sure that people have access to resources, and improve the overall health of the city in general through a racial equity lens is kind of what we focus on. So I'm really happy to be here. It was great to see so many supporters, and I hope that we can continue to have your support as we really combat this war on drugs. Thank you.
There's one more person we forgot to give a very special honorable mention to. And I know when she sees me, she's gonna knock me in my head. Cassandra Frederica, Drug Policy Alliance. We talked about impact and change. And we never thought we'd see a day where NYPD, Community Affairs, will be bringing individuals into a harm reduction agency for services. You will never see the police working with On Point, doing community outreach, helping us give our syringes and harm reduction supplies. This is what's happening now at On Point, where we have moved on and we have changed the minds of others. Now I bring up to you Joe Kerman from the New York City State.
So good evening. My name is Joe Kerwin, and I'm a Deputy Director at the New York State Department of Health AIDS Institute. And just want to say, first of all, thank you for the invitation to be here tonight, to Erica, to our colleagues from the Peer Network, to our colleagues from the Harm Reduction Coalition, from Vocal, and from On Point. There is a lot I wanted to say tonight about the importance of community organizing and community advocacy. But after hearing everything tonight, there's not really a whole heck of a lot I could tell all of you, because you're living this every day, and you're living it by what you celebrate tonight, and the success and the growth and the advancement of tremendously effective harm reduction strategies. So I think it's better that I congratulate you, first of all, on great work. And on behalf of your colleagues at the AIDS Institute, some of whom are with me tonight, including the illustrious Alan Clear, who many of you know and love. Alan should be the one speaking up here, but that's okay, right? And to say thank you, because the reality is communities are able to advance issues and causes and concerns, as difficult and as frustrating as it is for all of you. And as I heard tonight so clearly, you can move those concerns and issues in ways that those of us who work in government can't always do. But I would ask you really to think about is that when it comes to harm reduction, you do continue to move that agenda and to advance that cause. Don't assume that those of us who are working in government don't have our eye on what you're doing and are extremely grateful for your work. See the tremendous effectiveness of everything that's happened since November of 21. And all the scientific data that's supporting your work in harm reduction. And just to tell you, really, on behalf of your friends at the AIDS Institute, that we are appreciative, we are with you. And again, from all of us, congratulations tonight, and thank you for this great event.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. As you heard, there are so many people that have been involved in this movement, that have supported us, agencies, people. There's one person that I want to talk about real quick for a second. This person hasn't always worked for the AIDS Institute. Nah, he didn't. He used to work for the Harm Reduction Coalition, and I know I'm putting him on the spot right now, asking him to come up here. Mr. Alan Clear, please. Because the thing is with this gentleman, he gave many of us a voice when we didn't have one. He gave many of us opportunities when no one else would. He told me personally, and many of us in here when we started this movement, to speak our truth, unapologetically. Those words were so important to me when I heard them that I never forgot them, and I repeat them so often to others. And sometimes I remind him a little too often about what he said and what he did. He knows what he said, he knows what he did. But he's so humble about it. That's the whole thing. He's so humble about it, and he's so inclusive. So if you would, Alan, would you say a few words for us, please? You could beat me up later.
That ain't right. I didn't actually have anything to say, but you can always come up with something. And I think that, you know, there's so much history that went into this, and I'm not speaking as the Department of Health. I go back a long way. I go back to the Lower East Side. You know, the early days of underground needle exchange. And I wasn't emotional until I saw Louis. You know, because me and Louis go back to the early 90s. When he was Stand Up Harlem and I was Lower East Side Needle Exchange. Before it was the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center. When we were doing, you know, work, doing the same activism then that people had to do now to get the OPCs. You know, and the conversations we had then was about the health and dignity of people who use drugs. In the middle of we weren't in the middle of a war of people dying from opioid overdose or overdoses. People were dying of AIDS. Every single week, people we knew, every single week, people were dying. And, you know, we carry the scars of that through now. You know, that's the reason I get choked up, is because of the trauma we've gone through over these 30-odd years of doing this. But it's worth it for what we get out of the end. What we put into it is recognizing humanity of our fellow people. People who other people don't care about. That because you're involved in this. I remember being on a bus once. Where was I going? I don't know where I was going. It might have been Albany, it might have been Washington. And this was an ACT UP demonstration. And I'm thinking, everyone around me has AIDS. Everyone, of course, you're in an ACT UP bus going to Washington to protest for HIV. Of course, when you're in the middle of an epidemic, the people that are most effective come together. And we're the people that fight for this. We win the wars because we've always been right. We've always been right. And there was a moment recently where I spoke in Nashville, where was I? Atlanta. And I did a nice presentation on harm reduction. And then I had to do another one. And this very nice, I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm sure he's very nice. I apologize to him. The drug czar in Kentucky. He gets up and he says, and I think it was the Harm Reduction Coalition, said, someone came to me and said, you need to start syringe exchange programs in Kentucky. And he said, well, show me the science. And he said, I looked at the science. And he said, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So we started syringe exchange in Kentucky. And I had to follow him. And like I say, he's a nice guy and he said the right things. And I was so pissed. And I said, we gave you the same data 30 years ago. You can't get HIV from a clean sterile syringe. We gave you the same data and nothing was done. And it's the same with OPCs and it's the same with harm reduction. It's the same, the truth 30 years ago is the truth today, which is why we will win. Because 30 years after we started syringe exchange, it's now federal policy. What we see developed on point, developed through the work that we do as people who are involved in this, in the middle of this, most affected by it, we will have our truth. We will have many of us that won't be around. I'm getting kind of fed up with the whole thing of let's celebrate people while they're still alive, because it kind of puts us on this like trailer towards some kind of early death. But we're going to have this. We've got this in our lifetime, and we might all not make it, but the younger ones amongst us will see this as national policy. It's inevitable. It's always been inevitable. We've always been right, and we're going to be proven right too. So congratulations to everyone here.
We've always been right. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. We've been having this fight for the longest time, and other ones, and we've always been right. What does it take for us to get those people on board, the ones that push policy and change policy? What we're talking about are life-saving, life-changing intervention, community-changing interventions. The community asked for no public injection on their streets. They asked for no syringe litter on their streets. From what you heard today, the numbers of the syringe litter that has been picked up, there's no syringes around those OPCs. There's no public injection around those OPCs. So OPCs are doing what they were supposed to do and set out to do. So communities, when we have something and we bring you sound science, talk to us, ask us, sit down, let's create town halls, let's have a conversation, let's have an open mind, let's create this dialogue. I also want to celebrate someone, Father Barrios. He's been doing this work underground for the longest time. When it was not legal, when it was not so fun, just like Alan, just like Louis. This work has been going on by a lot of people underground for a long time. And it's gonna continue to be getting done because we will not quit, we will not give up.
Okay, so now we are at the ritual and celebration of community organizers and anointing.
And I know we're a little over time, so we're going to do our best here. So this evening, we've come together to connect and to heal and to reclaim and proclaim ourselves as people as sacred.
Which one you read? Right here. Okay. People who use drugs are sacred. People who trade sex are sacred. The people who love us and fight with us are sacred. Friends, we are sacred.
For decades, people who use drugs have worked to address the white supremacy and the war on people who use drugs, the war on our communities and our loved ones. And yet, in these moments over the years, we likely have replicated harm, perhaps unknowingly.
As we strive to build more just and loving communities, we sometimes still hurt each other. And as our movement must be one of repair, of mending, both internally and externally.
We are not perfect. I am not perfect. And knowing that we are not perfect makes us powerful.
Our worthiness is not tied to our perfection. It never has been. So this evening, we celebrate this beautiful imperfection, our power together, the fearless way we have loved one another back to life.
Over and over again, and the sites for new life, the sites of liberation that we have created for our communities and our loved ones. Tonight, we celebrate our worth, and tonight we celebrate you. So many traditions share this practice of anointing, and people have used oil. I use agua de Florida. You could use whatever to bless, right? To bless a space, to bless a home, to bless a body, or to heal the sick, or to mark something as sacred.
As we prepare to end this time together, let's offer that to one another. In celebration of the journey we each are on, and the journey we are on together, ours is a sacred journey. We are sacred.
I think too often our work as harm reductionists is misunderstood and disrespected. But we know that people who do sex work and people who use drugs are spiritual leaders in this country. They are preaching, I would say, a message of unconditional love and positive change.
This evening, we invite you to come forward and receive an anointing. Let it be a moment to mark your place in this movement. Let it be a moment of healing and of celebration. Let it be a reminder that you and your work have always been sacred and beloved.
So as you come before, and I invite you to come, Just let us know if you would rather we place the oil on your forehead or on your hands, or if you would rather us offer a blessing without touch, or if you would like agua de Florida.
You are loved. You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment, every day. Huh? Oh.
Every moment and every day. Yeah. You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment and every day. You are beloved. Every moment, every day, your work is sacred.
¿Agua de Florida?
No, yo lo tengo.
Oh.
You are beloved. Every day and every moment, your work is sacred. Your work is sacred. Every moment. You are beloved. You are beloved. Every day and every moment, your work is sacred.
Every moment, every day.
Chaplain too.
Yes.
God bless you.
Thank you. I am.
I am too.
You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment.
Would you like it here? You are beloved. Every moment, every day, your work is sacred.
On my hands.
You are beloved. Every moment, every day, your work is sacred.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment and every day.
You are beloved.
You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment and every day. Lord, please. Where would you like it? Up here, okay? You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every day and every moment.
You are beloved. Your work is sacred. Every moment, every day. I feel the energy.
Thank you for your work.
God,
You are beloved. Every single day. This day. Each other?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, no, that's you, honey. That's when they're done. When they're done.
Okay.
Because the blood runs deep and the roots tug at me. We can't forget, get visited in dreams. When war gets raw, hit the block, no escape is on our streets. You know, you hold this internal heat. I'm tired. They're sick. They stop and they frisk. Bullet shots, miss crooks. Penetrate elementary textbooks. Lunch boxes with crannies and nooks. Recorded as suspect ammunition by the crooks. Deathbed. Shot head. No justice. Instead, they dish out the hush bread. Old games, forgotten names, lynch slaves, devil's ways. ancestral plays. Judges and police, litigator meets, public defender under the sheets, courtroom greet, destiny's defeat. Annihilate another's fate to spark fear, and once here, virtual chains reveal they're chiming near, nearly here, slashing and burning, so it's tough to steer, stand clear. A la mar se fue, viento, a la mar se fue, viento, a la mar se fue, viento, tíraselo a la mar, viento, a la mar se fue, viento, a la mar se va, viento, oye toda tu pena, viento, tíraselo a la mar, viento, ay, sopla viento, respira viento, cura viento, ay, viento, a la mar se fue, viento, a la mar se va, viento, oye toda tu pena, viento, tíraselo a la mar, viento, cura viento, viento, sacude viento, viento, despoja viento, viento, sana viento, respira viento, sopla viento, ay, cura viento, viento va a despojar, a la mar se fue, viento, a la mar se va, viento, oye hola, hola, viento, no va a despojar, viento, ay, respira viento, respira viento, que cura viento, ese es mi aliento, viento.
Yeah. My friends, there is a power at work in the universe. It is a creative, sustaining, and liberating power. We can trust this power with our lives and with our work. It will sustain us whenever we take a stand on the side of love. Whenever we take a stand for peace and justice. Whenever we take a risk, trust in that power. We are together held by that power. May you go in love and peace and power.